Oh, yes.
So he was James Nathan Ford.
Yes. Charms against the evil eye in the later Syriac tradition of written magic. At first, I have to tell that this is part of a great project, the inventory of Syriac charms, which we had started last year at the Higher School of Economics University in Moscow. And just a few days ago, our first publication has appeared, which you can Google, maybe not today, but a little later, Syriac Love Charms, which was published in the journal Scrinium. And the aim of this project is to compile a comprehensive list of individual charms or spells within the Syriac tradition of written charms in order to grasp the whole scope of thematic and pragmatic variation within this tradition. By the Syriac tradition of charms, we understand in this project, we understand the corpus of texts in classical Syriac known to us from the codices and scrolls or rotuli dated from the 18th to 20th century. For some reasons, the core of these texts originate from the Eastern Syriac communities located in southeastern Turkey, Western Iran, and northern Iraq. We have the tradition of Western charms, part of which are Garshuni manuscripts. But for some reasons, they don't appear too much in the collections, and this part of this tradition is still to be explored. So we restrict ourselves with the Eastern Syriac texts. How old is the later tradition of Syriac charms? Why do I ask this question? Because we have some older texts. For example, we have the texts from Tufan, which were published by Erika Hunter. We have some not certainly dated texts in British Library. Recently, Natalia Smelova has communicated with me and told me that they are going to publish an amulet for curing difficult childbirth from Harahoto. It's from Mongolia. It's not far from Tufan, a little. And but the earliest manuscripts in this tradition I'm going to talk about are the long scroll or rotulus in the collection of Assad, which was published recently, and the collection must be housed in London. It is from 1706, and one little codex in the collection of Sado collection number 1, dated 1714. But I want to show you one manuscript which we have found in HMML collection in the Hill manuscript library collection. It is kept in the Luther Seminary in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it is not the collection of charms, but it has one illustration which is typical for this tradition. It is the depiction of Rabban Hormizd killing. Actually, he has to kill the dog, the mad dog. But he in this picture he kills also some demon which we cannot read here. But what is important for us that it is the earliest attestation of this later tradition. It is the date is here, so it is 17th century. And what do we understand by the individual charm in this project? It is a text with its specific function, content, and composition, which may be witnessed by a number of copies in various collections of charms. The problem of this research on the publication of the material, because is in that every other manuscript usually repeats itself. I mean, if we publish a new manuscript, sometimes most of these charms are already known, for example, from Goland's or from other publications. So I think at this point, it is not so useful to publish just another codices or scrolls, but it is better to find out which individual or separate or unique charms we have in this tradition. But it will be seen from the discussion what do we actually do. One typical case of this identification of charms is the case when we have a title of certain charm, but behind this title we have different charms. And the example is the charm spell binding the mouth of dogs. We have 5 texts, or maybe now even 6, because I added one more text here, with this title, Esara de Pume de Calbe, binding the mouth of dogs. But behind this title, you can find either the charm which is based on the formula, make them still by that stone which was put upon the mouth of the tomb of the Redeemer, of our Redeemer, which was published by Goland's and which we have find another manuscript. But recently we have discovered another charm which was not known from any publication. It is based on the historial of the Holy Family, Christ and the family meeting dogs on their way from Egypt. And baby Christ makes a spell on these dogs in this historial. And we have the first discovery was made in the manuscript from Petersburg, Institute for Oriental Manuscript. And another example of this historial we have from one of the manuscripts from Sadr collection. So in this research on the evil eye in the Syriac tradition, I tried to identify these individual charms with their own historiola of their own formulas and their own composition. And the result of this research are 4 types. But I have to tell that the 4th type is a sort of, it has some fluidity, it has some different variants, but still in the 4th type we have 2 manuscripts which attest the same type of charm. So the first type is historial Archangel Gabriel meets the evil eye. The second is Jesus meets the evil eye in Jerusalem. It was not known from the publications. And the historial of 7 accursed brothers, it was there in Goland's. And the newly found charms without any historial, just with formulas. Here I give some abbreviations which I will use, but if you would like, I will explain them if there arise any questions. And the first historial of Gabriel meets the evil eye is attested in 30 manuscripts, which are available to us. I mean, we have their copies of their translations. and 4 manuscripts which has this history, has this title, but not available to us by photographs. All in all, we have right now something like 50 copies of different manuscripts, including scrolls and codices. And here is the text of this historial. The evil eye went forth from the stone of the rock, and the angel Gabriel met her. He said unto her, whither goest thou, daughter of destruction? She replied unto him, I am going to destroy men and women, boys and girls, the souls of cattle and the fowl of heaven. The angel Gabriel said unto her, you will not enter paradise, and you will not see the great God, the one who is surrounded by thousands upon thousands. By his name thou art bound by me, and I bind thee, O evil, on the alien's eye, the Aina Hasamta, and the eye of seven evil, members, 7 evil neighbors, and so on and so on. What is bold here, this is the correction which was made by Anna Cherkashina in her thesis on the collection of Syriac charms. And here the translation differs from Golanj's, because Golanj had, you didn't enter paradise and you didn't see the great God. So there is a philological discussion in the work of Anna, which is in Russian, but it will be, of course, it will be published either in this paper or in her general work on this unique collection of charms from Kazan. And I underlined here the phrase 7 evil neighbors. Just take notice. It will be important for the discussion which follows. First of all, it's important to note the variation in titles. We have the most popular title, Herma de Malacha Gabriel de Hashach Le'aina Bishta. Sometimes we have just short title, Esara de Aina Bishta, or Herma de Aina Bishta, or some other variations of this. And these are most popular titles. And we have also Esara de Aina Bishta Hasamta, or sometimes Hasomta, and one very rare title, Aina Bishta de Kul de la Matya le Baita le Kenyana le Aina le Ane. These are the titles. The idea is that you have different titles, but behind these different titles, they have the same charm, but the same historial. The textology of these charms is very interesting, but here I will speak only about one detail. First of all, we have the formula of that the evil eye is going out from some place, and it is going. Anabishta nefkat men kefa kshita de tarana. It's the fullest version. Sometimes they have men kefa kshita, just that, and sometimes men kefa de tarana, which are just variations of this fuller version. But we have 2 unique manuscripts, one from Golanj's and one from I will show it here. It is Congregation of Chaldean Daughters of Mary Immaculate from Iraq, from Ain Kava. It is available through HMML library, where we have a very rare formula, Nefkat men aina de leba, or men ainach de leba, which is very special, which means that the evil eye is going from the eye of the heart, which probably is connected to this envious its emotional characteristic of these mythological creatures, so to say. We have many illustrations in this. I'm just giving here the few. One of them you saw in the James Nathan Ford's presentation, and the unique illustration is in the Codex Bay and Golas. It has only the eye. You see, it is absolutely unique. We don't have any other manuscript with this just depiction of the eye. The typical illustration is Archangel Gabriel killing this evil eye, which is depicted as probably a woman or a figure, which has different orientation here. And my favorite orientation is from Shabbat Alai and other publication, which was published recently, where you have the evil eye upside down. And we have some other depictions like that from other charms. It is a sort of iconographic motive for these demons. And the next historial is Jesus meets the evil eye in Jerusalem. It was first discovered in the work of Anna Cherkashina. She published a big manuscript from Kazan. It is from 18th century, from like 30s of 18th century. And but it was also found, the work is dated 2012. Another specimen was found in Sado manuscript, and recently I have found the fuller and the better version of it in another Sado manuscript, which we call, it's a provisional title, Old Not Dated. We have one manuscript which is called New Not Dated, but this manuscript is apparently from the end of 18th or maybe beginning of 19th century. Our Lord was riding on a donkey through the streets of Jerusalem when the evil empress eye met him. The Lord told him, or her, where are you going, O daughter of destruction? The evil eye replied to her. It's a mistake because the evil eye naturally is a woman. I'm going to the chambers of the beautiful newlyweds. I will tear the bull from the yoke, the cow from her calf, the son from the shoulder of his mother. Our Lord answered her, you are bound by me, and I bound you from the beer of the streets, and so on and so on. This is the core of this text. And here you see the photo of this fuller version of this rare charm from undated manuscript from the Sado collection in St. Petersburg. Here is the next historiella, which is very special. It has some different titles. Most of the titles are like Esara de Kenyana de la Matiale Aina Bishta, and one title is just short, Siaga de Kenyana, without any mention of Aina, of the eye. And the historiella is like that. We don't have time to read it the whole, but just notice that there is no mention of any evil eye in it. But we have evil eye in the title, and we have this mythological group of creatures or people, 7 evil or accursed brothers, who appear in the list of the spells against the evil eye. I just show you again this text from the Codex A, which is very popular. And here, in the list of different eyes, different evil eyes, we have the eye of 7 evil neighbors. So we have this very strange text, which doesn't have evil eye in it, but by some oblique indications, we understand that tradition digest it or consider it the spell against the evil eye. Of course, this mythology of 7 accursed brothers should be explored, but I don't have anything to tell about it right now. And the last type, which we have found, it has no historiola, and I have found two manuscripts which repeat almost verbatim this charm. Here is the translation: in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, in the name of the praised Trinity and the power of the venerable cross, I bind the evil eye. You are bound, O evil and the evil eye, the blue eye and the green eye and the reddish blue eye. And here follows the typical list of different kinds of eyes. For example, the eye of the father and eye of the mother, which I think I have found it in Mesopotamian tradition. Also, we have this formula that someone is protected from the eye of the mother, and I think Joan will comment on it. And here is the Syriac text, which you can see here. This specific formula det lita yuta meshabachta, which it doesn't appear. This is already a indication which we have in other version, and then we have bechailech desliva zgida, and so on and so on. We have another manuscript from Paris, I think, but it has no other counterparts. But it is also without any historiola. This is all which I wanted to say, and it is more to say about the commentary on these charms, about the mythology which is behind it. But my purpose was to identify different types of charms. And at some moment we came to understanding that this is just the burning task which they must do in this research, and another indication that it is useful and it is needed is that we have found out that David Calabro, who is with us today from HMML institution, is working just on the same task. He's also trying to identify these types of charms, and right now we are trying to find the way to collaborate, and we already collaborate in some respect, and we hope to come up with the exhaustive catalog of Syriac charms one day. Thank you for your attention. So, John, maybe you will comment on this formula. Do we have in Mesopotamian tradition this the eye of the mother on the eye of the father?
Well, in principle, the thing is with evil eye is that it isn't necessarily malicious. It's something that that can happen involuntarily to people. And so, yes, close relatives, people you have connection with, it comes from admiring too much or being too fond of something. So it makes perfect sense that people who would be particularly fond of you or like you or find you attractive and dote over you, it's the love child that dies is essentially where that's coming from. Essentially, I've experienced this personally, actually. When I was young, I was traveling in Italy on a school group, and I wandered around the streets of Venice by myself, and there was an old woman that I encountered who spat on me. And the oddest thing was it was not hostile, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And then when I looked into the evil eye things, they talk about that the way you counter your own evil eye that you unintentionally put on somebody by admiring them. She obviously thought I was a very attractive young lady. And she spat on me to take away the evil that she had just put on me by having that thought. And that's why it came out to me that I registered it not as a hostile act at all, because it wasn't hostile. It was just an interesting thing. But yeah, that is one of the things of the evil eye. So I'm not surprised to see it ethnographically. This makes perfect sense. In terms of other sort of general comments from Mesopotamia, the seven is that there's a possible sort of, shall we say, backstory to them. There are a group of somewhere between the gods, with stars, who have very beneficent things, and evil demons that are the seven, literally.
Yes.
And they accompany the god of plague, for summer plagues.
Thank you for this.
And so that seems likely to be, somewhere in the background behind year seven. The other thing I would suggest is for the story about the historiola about on the way to Egypt.
About the dogs.
But dogs, check out the infancy gospels. Because that is exactly the type of story that you get in infancy gospels. And there's at least one other infancy gospel story that specifically involves things that happened on the way to Egypt.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I broke the rules of Reglement. I just asked Joan, please, any other. But I was expecting some comments. So please, any other comments on this very interesting Syriac text? If no comments, we can go on to our next. I'm sorry, I have to stop my presentation. To our next speaker.